Hi, welcome to Through the Writer's Door. Stay tuned, we'll be talking to a wonderful young innovative poet, Mr. Malcolm J. Young. He's a great writer. I can't wait for you to hear some of his works and the inspiration for what he's doing today. So we'll be right back. Hi there, welcome back. We're here speaking to Mr. Malcolm J. Young, and we're going to be talking about his book of poetry. He's a poet, an awesome poet. That's what I know about him. And tell us a little bit about this book that we have in front of us here.
This book is called Wake Up and Think. I think we all have an aha moment. You know, Oprah talks about the aha moment. And that's what it is for me. It's like a coming of age. And when I write my books, I like to use a character, someone who's feeling something, they're going through something, they're going through a situation, and they're writing about it in poetry. So it's kind of like a poetic diary, if you will, or a journal entry, if you will, and it chronicles an emotional struggle. So Wake Up and Think does that. It's about a person who is asleep, if you will, and they're in the process of arising to a thought for themselves. They're thinking for themselves now. Once they were led by someone else's standards, someone else's suggestions, and now they're beginning to think for themselves. So this is what it is. If you look at the book cover, there's a globe there, and the globe represents the thought process of everyone around the world. You know, we all have a moment where we're thinking through someone else, you know, not thinking through ourselves. And we all have that moment where we just, you know, it's like, oh, okay, you know, now I can decide for myself, you know, how I'm going to live my life, the thoughts that I'm going to keep, my philosophies, you know, what I want to do for myself, you know, and we all have that.
All right. Now, you know, hearing all that wisdom and such a young person, I have to ask, what makes you the one to write this? And how did you get to pull all this together? Why? How?
I believe it's my mandate, you know, my mandate from God to express what I see. You know, we all have that. And that's the thing about it, is that we all share this. We all share in the experience of, you know, this is what I see. This is how I view the world. And I can't keep that. You know, I can't keep those feelings bottled inside. I have to share that. You know, we have to share it with one another to get along. So I believe it's my mandate to kind of awaken people, through my words, to get them to say, okay, well, well, maybe I'll think about it this way, or maybe I'll look at it differently, or maybe, I have enough in me to be able to reach out to someone else. So.
Okay, and who are you hopeful to reach out to? Who do you think this book is for? Who can be most helped?
The masses.
Well.
The masses. Everyone. My audience, the age range would be between 13 and 90. It would have to be that because I started writing at 11. So I was going through a age where it's like everything's new to me now. Like, oh, I can do that, or I can go there, or I can say this, so it was new to me, and that's where it all happens in that developmental stage, where you're thinking for yourself. You can read something and gather your own opinion from it. So I would say 11, 11 all the way to
90.
Yes.
To age 90 young.
The masses, everyone.
Well, here's the next question. You don't have to answer it. You are presently at the tender age of
20.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
And packed with all this wisdom.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. I tell you, we're getting ready to go to a break. All righty. And when we come back, we'll talk some more with Mr. Malcolm J. Young. Hi, you're watching Through the Writer's Door. If you want to know more about the Life Journeys Writers Club, just log on to www.lifejourneyswritersclub.com. The Life Journeys Writers Club, we entertain all writers from all levels. We mentor the community. We mentor young people. Some of our youngest writers to read, present have been 8 years old. Some of our oldest have been in their 70s. So come on, it's a place for everyone if you'd like to get your story down on the page. Well, we're back. Thank you for staying with us. We're here talking to Mr. Malcolm J. Young, and we're talking about his book of poetry, and that is titled Wake Up and Think. Yes. Is there a subtitle? Was there a subtitle?
Words and Poetry, Volume 1.
Oh, Volume 1. Yes. So we know that Volume 2 is just a step away.
Yes.
Well, please, before we go any further, tell me how we can find you. How can we find this book?
It's available now on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble. It's also available on PublishAmerica.net, my publishers.
All right, so we can pick that up?
Yes.
All right. I heard that some school systems may be even looking at this book.
I grew up in Charles County, Maryland, so that's where I got my start in literary arts. It's literary arts.
Yes, it is. It's the literary arts.
Yes, and I was in middle school at the time, and what happened a few months after Wake Up and Think went to publication, I ran into my old language arts teacher who was there with me in my starting stages, beginning to write. And she asked me to come and talk to her class, and that turned into a workshop, and they bought my book and they're using it in their poetry units. Then I got a call from one of my teachers in high school who told me that he was using my book as well in his poetry unit. So.
That is wonderful. Where can we find it again?
Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and PublishAmerica.net.
Alrighty. So now, who inspired you? We know that this work is a work of inspiration meant to inspire everyone from age 11 to 90. Right? Who inspired you? What writers?
It was actually my cousin who inspired me. From that point, up until that point, I didn't like poetry at all. And I can freely say that because it's the love of my life now. So she wrote something, and I don't even remember what it was, but I remember how it made me feel. It was the feeling that propelled me into writing. And I told her, I said, well, if you can do it, then I can do it too, and I'll probably do it better. So that was my inspiration then. And then after I played with it a little bit, I learned about different poets like Maya Angelou. I took a immediate interest in her work.
Yes.
People like Langston Hughes and Allen Ginsberg, different poets who were revolutionary, because that's the basis of my work. It's not your. Now I can say people in the elderly ages can read it,
Yes.
but it's not necessarily your grandmother's favorite collection of poetry, because it has touchy genres. It has touchy.
Is it? Would you say it was kind of edgy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
It's
Watch
very
out when
edgy.
you say elderly. Watch that word. Okay.
It's
yes.
very edgy, and it's different from
Yes.
what we're used to, and that was my thing. I wanted to get people used to something different, a new wave of poetry,
Alright.
if you will, a new thing. So in this is a poem called Rebel Poet, and I talk about the rebel poet. It doesn't have to be me, it could be anyone. Anyone writing it, anything. It doesn't even have to be a poet, but it's a rebellion against the traditional ways of writing and how we present it.
Okay. Well, now since we said it's kind of edgy, what gave you the nerve to pen it just as you felt it? I mean, did you have some kind of reservation? Well, what if my parents heard this? What if my grandparents heard this?
Yeah, I did, and I think my biggest reservation was, how am I going to tell the people at church that I just published the book? Because given the content, it's not too edgy. It wouldn't knock the socks off your pastor, but it's something to think about.
Yes.
And that's what it does.
Okay. And will the volume 2 have the same title, or will it?
No, it would be Words and Poetry Volume 2, but that's Entertainers of Truth.
Oh, entertainer. Say that again.
Entertainers of Truth.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And where can we get that?
Same as Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. And what I'm doing, these next collections will be published directly on Kindle, so that's where you can pick it up.
All right. Well, we're going to take a little break, and we'll come back and talk to Malcolm. He'll tell us about what he's got new, and maybe he'll even read for us.
I'm nuts about downtown Baltimore's West Side. Hello, I'm John Waters, and I'm proud to say that Baltimore has always been my home. It's the inspiration behind all my films, including Hairspray, Crybaby, Serial Mom, and A Dirty Shame. Let me tell you, there are not a more eccentric, monumental, eclectic, intriguing, and character-filled 28 blocks anywhere in the world, and I'm here to prove it to you. The Baltimore Development Corporation and the 40-plus members of West Side Renaissance, led by Peter Angelos, that are ensuring the success of what the New York Times calls the largest revitalization plan of its kind in the country. And it's all happening in this one neighborhood called downtown Baltimore's West Side. Infectious, fashionable, full of vim and Baltimore vigor, I walk the West Side streets these days in amazement at what it's become. I'm nuts about downtown Baltimore's West Side. You will be, too.
And we're back with Malcolm J. Young, and I believe he's going to give us a special treat. He's going to read for us from Wake Up and Think.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And this is called Ars Poetica. And Ars Poetica is like a treaty, if you will, of poetry. And it's called A Deeper Thought. We are what the normalists fear. Radical poets with a jacked up message of peace. A overcultural kind of counterculture, with thoughts of rebellion all while screaming revolution. Riding on some type of dream, laughing at those same old nightmares, drifting into a new freedom. We are what the literary minds loathe, the untouchables of the written word. Composing dissertations of a broken grammar, getting high on life and tripping on truth. Making known our philosophy through our own reality. Choking the life out of conformity and giving breath back to reform. Pioneering a new wave, perennial with personality. Radical poets, capturing the attention of the world through nothing but a thought.
Wonderful. Breathtaking. That was simply wonderful. I hear that you have some new things coming up.
Yes, I have about 6 projects in the
Oh,
work.
my goodness.
The ones that's really up and coming, I have a book of love poems. Very personal, very emotional. It's a new side of me that I'm working with, so that's exciting. It's really my baby. I can't say it's more important to me than Wake Up and Think, but it's just really, really, really personal to me. And it's called Blues for Another Day. And that'll be available on 9/11.
Oh, 9/11.
Yes, it's my birthday gift to myself. So.
Wonderful. That's wonderful, wonderful. Well, I have enjoyed so much
Yes,
talking to
me
you.
too. Thank you.
I hope that you come back. We're
Of
here with
course,
Malcolm
of
J. Young, and we'll be right back. We are in for a special time. Soon we'll be talking to writer Miss Linda Hun. And she is an awesome writer. She's an inspirational writer. We'll hear some good things about the book she has already published. And I can't wait for you to hear what she has to say. So she'll be here in a minute. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're here having a wonderful time with Miss Linda Hun, Hunn, yes. And so far we've been talking about her latest title, which is Snapshots of a Woman's Heart, and how she is the one to write this. She's made it very personal. And she has connected this book with history.
Right.
I imagine to let women know they're not alone in whatever obstacles that they have.
Because I let women everywhere I go, I let women know this isn't CNN breaking news, okay? This isn't something that just happened to us. This is something that, as we can see, if you trace it back into the Bible, which is an ancient book, that women have been dealing with these issues for centuries.
Okay.
So it's not something new, but what it is to challenge the woman that even though it's not something new, and it's today's woman deals with these things, is to challenge her to not be afraid to look at her snapshot and to deal with these issues that she has in her life.
All right. Linda, tell me, where can we find you? How can we get a hold of your books?
You can get a hold of this book at www.itsyoursnapshot.com.
Wonderful. I think I can remember that.
Yeah, just remember, it's your snapshot.
All righty. And we have another book here. I don't think this was your first. Was this your first book?
God Has Needs Too was my first book. And I wrote this book. I didn't even know that I could write. And so I had someone came up to me. It was a pastor that I had. Now I used to be, my husband was in the military, recently retired from the military. So we were at this church, attending this church at the time, and the pastor there began to tell me, she said, "You're a writer." I says, "No, I'm not." I said, "I can't write." And she said, "No." She says, "Right, you're a writer." And then I began to realize that when I started going back, I began to realize that I've been writing since I was a child. You always found me with a pen, a book, and a paper, and I was always writing. I was always reading, loved talking romances and stuff. But that's when I started writing this. And so this is the book that I first realized that I could write, and I didn't know it was going to be that thick because I didn't think I had too much to say. But then I had to cut it off because I realized I had a lot to say.
All right. I just want to talk about the title. It's God Has Needs Too.
Yes.
Now, what exclamation point? Let's leave that in. What would you say if someone looked at that and they'd say, God has needs? He has no needs. He doesn't have any needs. What's going on?
I get it all the time. I get it all the time. But when they start to think about it, the way that this book came about was I was always telling my husband, giving him a list. We always give him a list of everything we need. And so in my relationship that I have with God. One day he says, well, what about me? I'm like, make my husband do this, and I need this, and I need this. But there are certain things as Christians that sometimes we forget. There are things that God needs from us. For instance, God needs faith from us, and it's in the scriptures it tells us that it's impossible to please God without faith.
Okay.
So that's just one of the things, and so I have about 15 other things.
Okay, do you?
Yeah.
You have a little checklist.
Yeah.
And then on what he needs and what we are to do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's just as you go through it, you just begin to see when people open it up and begin to look at the table of contents, they begin to say, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Even with time management, some people think that God needs us to be good time managers. And a lot of times people don't think about that. But that's money managers. We need to be good stewards over our money.
Okay.
I talk about money in there.
Yeah.
And how that's something that God needs us to do. He's not going to give us money just to throw it out the windows, So he needs us to be good stewards over it.
All righty. Well, that's great. We will. We've having a good time. We're going to take a little break, and we'll come back and talk to Miss Linda again. In the meantime, give us that website.
www.itsyoursnapshot.com.
All right. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're here talking to Miss Linda Hun. And listen, can you read a little bit of snapshots for me?
Sure.
All
I'd
right.
love to.
Okay, that's great.
I'm going to read a poem because Snapshots is talking about for the woman developing a healthy relationship with herself.
Yes.
And at one time, I admit, I didn't have a healthy relationship with myself. So this is a poem that I wrote, and I put it in the front of the book.
Oh.
It says, you may be impatient and short-tempered. You may be overweight or out of shape. You may not be the prettiest gal around. You may be an older woman who never married, but love yourself anyway. You may have been abused, mistreated, or mishandled in life. You may have an unpleasant past. You may not have the most fashionable clothes, but love yourself anyway. People may get irritated or angry with you. You may know others who are unforgiving of your mistakes or your past. You may be living in the unpleasant circumstances, but love yourself anyway. You may have lots of unfinished projects, business and plans. You may not be rich, drive a fancy car, or live in a big house on an exotic island, but love yourself anyway. For if you don't love you, who will?
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, it's about being healthy.
Yes.
Before you get to help anybody else, you must be healthy.
You have to be healthy.
Yes.
It's all about being a healthy woman.
That's wonderful. Would you say the same thing about your other works?
This other work here, because I'm just a relational person.
Yes.
And so this is about your relationship with God and having a healthier relationship with God.
Okay. So, all righty. So, what would you say? What genre? Who's the reader you're trying to reach?
For Snapshots of a Woman's Heart, this book can reach any teenage girl all the way up to a woman in her 80s. And this book right here, God has these to just any Christian that wants to read this book and wants to grow in their relationship with God.
What about someone who's not a Christian? Someone who just would like a healthy relationship with God, or want to know, or maybe would this be a first step to getting to know about that whole kind of thing?
Yeah, it would be a first step. I do have prayers in there if you want to have and I do invite them if they don't have a relationship with the Lord. that you can, there's a page in there that you can, prayer in there, and you can read, and you decide that's what you want. But I welcome anybody to read them. I still think I'm a good writer, and I still have something. You can always, take what you can take. That's the thing.
Yes.
So if you don't, if you're not a Christian, or you can still, there's still good stuff in there. Even like I said, I'm talking about money and dealing with money and time management and stuff. So you can still, there's something you can still glean from it.
Okay, and the website. Now you gave us a particular website for snapshots. Your general website.
That's the general.
That is it.
That's for Victorious Moments Publications, which is me.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then you can at that website. And I have some good news. It's on September 1st.
Yes.
My books will be available on Kindle.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Amazon and Kindle.
Yes.
That's going to be great. Now you kind of mentioned the military. You're a military family.
Yeah, we were military.
Your husband?
We recently retired. My husband recently was over in Afghanistan. He retired out of the military while he was in Afghanistan, and he got hurt. So he just came home recently in June, and he's home recovering from an injury he had in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay. And your mother four?
Mother of four, yes.
Right.
And soon to be, I am a grandmother also.
Oh, okay.
And so I have one grandchild, and soon to be a grandmother again. So.
Okay. Well, dealing with all you have and your writing, I imagine your writing helps you as well.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Sometimes I have to go read my own book. I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness, let me pick up a book and read it for myself.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you visit with us and talk about the book. It was wonderful having you on the show. Thank you. It's been a great experience.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
it was fun.
Oh boy, I hope you come back.
Yes, I would love to.
All righty, and we'll be right back. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I'm Yvonne J. Medley, and this is my latest creation, the prequel to my debut novel. It's titled Juby Stone, Saved by the Vine, and you'd love it if you get into it. Again, we hope you've enjoyed the show today. You have experienced the writers from the Life Journeys Writers Club. I hope you did truly take in the total experience of what that was like and enjoyed the pieces you've heard today. The Life Journeys Writers Club. We are a diverse, eclectic group of writers from all genres, from professional to amateur, and we mentor. Come and see us. Everybody has a backstory, and perhaps you'd like to get yours down on a page. I'm Yvonne J. Medley, and this is Through the Writer's Door. See you next time.